Everything looks good. Looks like we're on target. Denver Broncos Mile High View. While other channels and online platforms have Dove Valley talking points, we have the film that says otherwise. No bullshit. Colby, the first thing I want to say is I want to thank you. When you came on board, it was, well, I have to see if you're a ding dong or not. But, you said what I was saying it made sense. So I just want to thank you for being a part of, probably being without a doubt, the most accurate Broncos channel out there. And I'm going to get into right now. It brings me great pleasure that the STR Dove Valley Talking Point crowd is forced, and they're not doing it because they want to. They're forced to have to sound more like us, and it gives me great pleasure to watch them eat that crow. Great pleasure to watch them do that. And in this day and age, it's not easy to stand up to the mainstream. People are folding like lawn chairs left and right in this day and age. We stood tall. We said, we knew what we were seeing. So there, all these, we took a lot of crap for telling it like it is. And I want to thank you for standing tall too. And it's because it's not easy in this day and age, apparently. When the truth is the truth, and the mainstream is the mainstream. So just wanted you to know that I'm very, very happy, and I'm glad that you're on board. You've contributed quite a bit to even my own knowledge base on things. So we're definitely, your participation in this kept us on track with bringing you accurate information, or the audience accurate information. So with that said, and off my chest, because I can't thank you enough, I do have at least one question for you. I think I forgot the second one, but I do have one question for you. Oh, actually two now. It just dawned on me. I did a film study on the Steelers, and I just need to know, was the music intro, was it soft? Was it soft enough for you? It had to be soft. I had to do a soft.
I think it was music for what you were trying to put forth with this Broncos team that is continuing to show itself over the past 6-7 years.
Yeah, we'll get into that too, about the past 6 or 7 years and the disassembling by John Elway of what, particularly in the defense, what Wade Phillips had put together, and because he knows it all, right? Yep. And so we'll get into that. The second question is: have you noticed that? Or let me ask you this question: do people like other people who are observant, who care enough to look?
In this day and age?
Yes.
I would say no, because they're easily brainwashed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we saw. Before STR starts saying that they've never said this, and they always say that. Didn't they build this team up to be like, you'd think it was just one play away from a Super Bowl, the way they built this team up. Yeah. And so over the course of let's see, 5 games, right? We did 5 games, correct? What have we seen? What has happened? What have we seen unfold in the last 5 games?
I think it's the past. I would say, yeah, the past 5 games. I think we've seen a team that's overhyped. I think we've seen a team that has a lot of flaws, bigger than what people like to realize. I think that this team, including the fan base, the most toxic fan base in the National Football League, in my personal opinion, I think that the fan base that follows the Dove Valley narrative and the John Elway narrative, and we're just one quarterback away narrative, I think that that narrative is being slowly but surely diminished by people like us who understand that this team needs a full-on rebuild and needs to build from the inside out.
Well, yeah, and we also know that we need an owner, even though I'm going to have to be honest with you. With everything out there, it looks like we're going to get Mr. Billionaire Douchebag. We're not going to get a Bolin. I just fear that we're going to get Mr. Billionaire Douchebag. And I'm just going to say it like that because I don't know any other way to put it. A guy more interested in shopping malls and stadiums and less about building franchises, which feeds into that toxic group that you're talking about. Because that seems to be all they care about. They just care about, oh, we're going to get shopping malls or business parks and this nonsense. So that's what I'm a little bit afraid of with that. Well, let's get into the talking points here for the Mile High View. So I want to talk a little bit about bringing the real state of the Broncos to the Denver fan base, the ones that don't want to put their heads in the sand, that is. Dove Valley Talk Radio, Eating Crow. We're going to talk about the film study, what we've seen what the last two games have showed us. We're going to talk about Chucky Gate and the state of the Raiders. And I want to say, is Dove Valley Talking Point Radio overstating the Raiders' collapse on this Sunday? And I want you to tell me too about what you saw in the film review with the Raiders, but I particularly want to talk about Chicago's defense. Mm-hmm. Because Sports Talk Radio, they obviously you can add your own too all throughout this, but Sports Talk Radio is saying how horrible Chicago is, but maybe you could make a case for the offense, but on the defensive side of the ball, it's not PR and spin that they are a top defense. So we'll get into why they're a top defense and why it's diametrically different to the Denver Broncos, who, for all intent and purpose, looks like the same defense John Elway wanted after he disassembled Wade Phillips' defense. Just saying. Mm-hmm. So let's go back to today, all week. Sports Talk Radio sounded almost like us. They had to eat crow on the defensive line. They couldn't get around it. And this is the thing. The reason why I'm patting us on the back, because nobody else, except for a few that have come on board that have said it. But by and large, I want to pat us on the back because they gave us a bunch of crap that said that how great and wonderful the team is, and us standing tall and just saying that this is the way it is. That really speaks a lot to where people are getting their information. So, like I said, they can't get around it. They were talking. Well, they dare not say the word Draymond Jones, though. I mean, they still have there were rumblings of Simmons, but they have to face the reality that these lines are exactly what we said they were, what we saw during the first three games that they got away with. They're lucky they played the Giants when they played them, because they probably lose that too. Mm-hmm. So there's no way around it. And the only way that we're going to get line rebuild, you can talk about coach, you can rearrange these deck chairs. It all comes down to Elway and his philosophy. He's the one that's where we're at. This predates Fangio. Mm-hmm. So I'd like you to talk about the predating Fangio, and also what's your take on STR sounding like us now, having to eat crow?
I think that STR is starting to realize that we were right all along. I think that when we take a step back and listen to, the Dove Valley talking points that STR likes to put forth to the delusional fans and the toxic fans in this
Kool-Aid drinking
fans, I think that they've had to come to the realization that this team, in some aspects, because they won't admit it fully, because Elway won't let them, I think that in some aspects they are starting to realize that we probably overpaid for Simmons and that they overhyped Draymond Jones. And who said that?
Well, not only who said that, but who took all the garbage from all the Kool-Aid drinkers for that? Exactly, we did. Even though we were just trying to tell them, open your eyeballs, take a look, leave your talking points somewhere else, take a look. Here's the thing. We actually do show film. Mm-hmm. And they will look like a bunch of morons. When I show Steelers, the film with the Steelers, the Ravens too, but when I show the Steelers film and I'm showing our lines getting pushed around, I'm saying this is a player personnel deal at the core. They can't say anything because I'm out here making films saying, look, you're going to sit here and say this is the fifth best off, the top this, the top that, as far as the lines go. You can't, because the film is obviously saying otherwise. Nobody else will do it. Nobody else will show the film. Nobody else will hold John Elway accountable. Somebody's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we do have an effect too of what's going on. As small as we are, but we're, I posted. There's a Vic Fangio on the Denver Broncos channel. He was praising Callahan. And exactly what I said in the comment, I said, somebody upstairs wanted to get rid of him, but thank you, Vic Fangio, for lobbying to keep him. And that got immediately taken down, because that hits, you're over the target. When they start censoring like that, you're over the target. There wasn't any cussing. There wasn't any. And I even congratulated Vic Fangio. We can't have that either, because he's, they got to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they had to get rid of the last guy and the last guy and the last, Elway stays in there and nothing changes. One fan said that Vic Fangio was critical with Simmons. Did you get to see that? Because I didn't get to see that.
I didn't hear anything. I think the one thing that he was saying that made a lot of sense to me, and it's something that me and you've been harping on for going on 2 years now, is the technique issues and the type of skill set that doesn't fit in a Vic Fangio defense like Justin Simmons.
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah. And again, who was saying this all from the beginning? Both of us. And you know what? I was putting out video asking from the very beginning, where is Simmons? Where is Simmons? Where is Simmons? And then all of a sudden they were pressured to put him in. They were pressured to actually use him. I want to talk about Simmons. I want to get into this. This gets into the Steeler. We'll get into the Steeler. I told you that I really wanted to talk about that Von Miller matchup, the infamous Von Miller on, I think it was Claypool.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, why Simmons was where he was is because the coaching. Because remember what I was saying in the first 3 games. How come he's not helping over the top? How come he's not helping over the top?
Mm-hmm.
They put him back there to help over the top because Fuller was getting beat, was getting burnt like toast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a professional safety, it doesn't matter what the coaches say. When something is drastically wrong, when you're seeing a mismatch like Von Miller on this receiver as a safety, and this is right where Justin Simmons normally plays. Now I'm given the benefit of the doubt that I understand. I'm saying I understand fully why he was back over the top, because Fuller was getting beat. But Fuller is much more capable, even as though he was getting beat, handling his guy than Claypool. A competent safety would have said, fuck the coaches, screw the coaches. I'm going to hone in on this, because this is like a match made nightmare right here, because there's no way Von Miller's covering this guy. So I'm going to position myself so that Claypool doesn't make a big play. Simmons had no clue. Even Schlereth circled that. That was on my film. That was Schlereth circling that. He caught that right away. Anybody in the nosebleed section caught that right away, but not Simmons. And I don't care what the coach said. The coach said help over the top. When you see that mismatch, you immediately need to make an adjustment, because you know that that's going to be a big play all the way. But none made by Justin Simmons whatsoever. Your take?
My take on that whole situation with Justin Simmons and the whole Von Miller thing that STR is blaming Vic Fangio for, and they're going to do that because they want Fangio out of Denver, just like that old Al Davis Raiders. What I've been saying this from the very beginning, and you have been harping it on more than I have with Simmons, showing the film and everything. And I have continually said that I wasn't a big fan of the Kyle Fuller signing. Never was, never have. I wasn't a big fan of it because I knew the type of player that he was now. He's washed up. He's not as good as he was 2-3 years ago. He's another AJ Boye. And with Justin Simmons, I guarantee you, if that was a Ronald Darby, Justin Simmons would have been on Claypool than Von Miller, because I believe in Ronald Darby's skill set more than I do Kyle Fuller's skill set. Justin Simmons, I think, still would have got exposed on that play, because I think Justin Simmons doesn't have the requisite skill set to go against a Chase Claypool.
Oh.
And Wait till this game against the Raiders, because there's going to be a lot that I have to discuss about the Raiders, but that's going to be later on in this video. But going back to the Steelers, I've continually said this about Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio had guys like Adrian Amos and Eddie Jackson, just to name two strong safeties that were in Chicago. And those guys were way better than Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons. It's not even close. They were in a whole different other universe than these two. But Justin Simmons, even on that touchdown pass to Claypool down the middle, that was Justin Simmons' assignment, because I went back and watched that can play over and over and over again. And STR likes to say, well, that was, Kareem Jackson's play. They're blaming Kareem Jackson for Justin Simmons' mistakes like they're going to do, and all the other players. But, on that play with Vic Fangio and Von Miller, I think that if we had a better corner and better player personnel, I think the safety would have been on that receiver more than Von Miller had. But, they wanted to keep Justin Simmons safe, and they want to expose Von Miller and Vic Fangio because they both want him out of there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. That was not. It didn't make no sense. The only way it made sense is that, okay, we got to put Simmons high because Fuller can't. So let me ask you this: what about what I said going back? I think after the Giants game, I said, what about putting Fuller in the backup? Bench him.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd bench him.
Yeah,
because Donald Darby and Patrick Surtain on the outside, which you said, and I stand by that. He can be a good outside corner in this league. Would I have drafted him number 9 in this draft? No, I'd have picked Rashawn Slater.
No. Speaking of drafting a corner, I think the Raiders drafted the guy above. I think they did. They drafted the guy. Who was the other guy?
No, it was the Panthers that drafted J.C. Horn.
Oh, Panthers did. Okay.
Here. So I wanted J.C. Horn. If we were going to pick a corner, I think J.C. Horn would have been a better player because he can play all 3 positions.
Yeah.
He can play and outside, and Surtain is strictly an outside corner.
Yeah, you see that just as a caveat, the Panthers aren't skipping a beat losing Bridgewater. Just saying. Yeah. They're not skipping a beat.
Nope.
That should. Anyway.
And also, I think on that play with Claypool, I think if we had a Roquan Smith or Danny Trevathan, unlike an Alexander Johnson, I think it would have made a little bit of a difference. And SPR will never mention that. And
Zaven Collins.
Zaven Collins.
Yeah, Zaven Collins.
I think Justin Cernat's had a better 2 weeks than Alexander Johnson, in my personal opinion, because I haven't heard of him, and that's what I want to do. If you're gonna play linebacker in this league, I don't want to hear from you, and I want you to pick. When you're playing linebacker in the National Football League, I don't want to hear from you. But if I'm going to hear from you, I want to hear from you with a good coverage interception. That's it. Alexander Johnson just gets exposed a lot, in my personal opinion. He can't catch the football. I think he's a good run defender in some aspects against really weak offenses, but other than that, he gets exposed on a weekly basis, in my opinion.
Maybe he does well in some blitz packages once in a while.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah. So again, just looking at the when I went over the film, there's so much I didn't even cover. Shurmur
was an idiot.
Play design is, and I want to talk about this too, Shurmur. And I want fans to know this, and I want them to think hard about this, and try to spread this message out to the deaf tone out there. You really think Vic Fangio was rolling in his sleep at night, dreaming about bringing a poor man's Kansas City Chiefs version to the Denver area? We see the way the tight ends are not being used, how the blocking schemes are. And I just want to put out this to all the people that defend or even you're the one that wants to get rid of Shurmur. Just let me say this. Who really was it that wanted to bring Shurmur? Who really did fire Scangarello? Who really fired that? Now, I will blame Fangio for signing off on it without verbally protesting any of it. I don't know about that. I don't know about, getting, Shurmur. He didn't verbally protest that. But I know, but there's no doubt in my mind who the architect of bringing Shurmur in was. It wasn't Fangio. He's guilty for signing off on it, for sure.
I disagree.
Well, he should have said something publicly.
I,
I'll disagree with you. He should have said something publicly about that.
I disagree.
Well, why shouldn't he have said something public about that?
I'll know that he has a noose around his neck and that he has no say in anything. And he's defensive coordinator. He's not the head coach.
Well,
so,
we know he's the defensive coordinator, but still, he if you're going to put my name as the head coach on all this stuff, he should have said something. But they finally figured it out when they drafted Surtain, because Peyton came out and said this was John Elway's. They finally came out and exposed John Elway. I mean, he should have even dropped a hint that said, this isn't my really number one choice, but this is what we're going with. That's all he had to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we would have known, there would have been no shadow of a doubt, that because it's just going to fall back on him anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? What's the difference? If you come out and say, look, I'm not 100% on board with this, but this is what we're going with. Okay, then, saying basically I'm being told that this is the way. It's easy to say. You could say it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that he isn't the general architect of bringing Shurmur in.
Nope.
And I also want to say this channel brought you links to the Giants fans complaining about the same thing we're complaining. I got those for you. And we're saying the same thing Giant fans were saying about Shurmur.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's almost like re-recordings. So this whole thing with Shurmur was not a surprise, at least for us anyway. It was no surprise. And let me ask you this question too, because it's not about Shurmur. Could you see Elway firing Vic Fangio and then making Shurmur like an interim, like head coach in some capacity?
I would say yes if John Elway. Man, that's a difficult question for me to say, because I think that George Paton, and whatever you say about George Paton, I like George Paton. I like his philosophy on how to build a team. And I think that George Paton doesn't have the control that he has because of Elway. I think that for the sake of Bryce Callahan and Vic Fangio's relationship, I think George Paton would go to bat for Vic Fangio, because I think generally George Paton likes Vic Fangio, and I think that he would fight tooth and nail to keep Vic Fangio instead of having Shurmur the interim head coach. That's a very tough question for me to say, because on one hand, I could see it happening, but on the other hand, George Paton, I think, would fight tooth and nail for Vic Fangio. And I think
he may, but you pointed something out, and I made sure to put it in the video. I made absolutely sure.
Mm-hmm.
You see Elway leading. See George Paton like a little puppy dog following.
Yep, told you.
The optics doesn't tell me that it doesn't matter what. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Maybe that is true, but I don't agree that Elway's going to mind that. Like,
no, I agree where your logic is coming from. If it came down to it, Elway will get his way, because he always does, because he has no accountability above him.
So I could see Vic Fangio, getting, in my opinion, relieved from this nightmare he signed up for,
and he'll go somewhere else, like Joseph,
and succeed. He'll succeed, of course he will. And if he goes to some place that lets him get the player personality like he's had everywhere else he's gone except here.
Oh, I think people would put him in a heartbeat as defense coordinator. I would.
Oh, absolutely. He won't have a problem. Now, that harkens to what we were saying, that if you look at Wade Phillips, his defense, and Wade Phillips being fired by Elway, and look at the type of defense that Elway has put together prior, or just, I shouldn't say put together, I should say disassembled and reassembled before Vic Fangio. What Vic Fangio has had to deal with here is exactly the same thing. Nothing that he could do similar to Chicago, but this defense looks like everything he tore apart with the Wade Phillips model. I mean, this looks like a Elway defense. It doesn't look like a Vic Fangio defense.
No, because I think a Vic Fangio defense and a Wade Phillips defense have the same philosophy in mind, and that's building in the trenches and building out. And what
Yeah.
Elway's philosophy is building from the outside in. And I knew that was going to happen because all the Apple podcasters and the online platforms and Dove Valley and STR was saying that, well, the Broncos need to start building from the outside in, and that's where the league's going now. And
We
I'm like,
didn't say that. We didn't say it.
yeah, he didn't say that, and I'm like, yeah, that's from Dove Valley and Elway right there, because I know what Elway's philosophy is about. He's doing it on offense. We get these receivers, and forget about the offensive line. Let's get corners, let's get safeties, forget about the defensive line.
And they're starting to use the term 90s football out there. I heard it. Where did they get that term from? I don't know. I don't know where they got that.
That guy right there.
Oh, good God. So there was, the offensive line now. Let's move on to the offensive line. This goes back to Rich Scangarello, how he's using and not using players. Scangarello, I'm sorry. Shermer versus Scangarello is what I'm getting at. And how not to use tight ends. That was a big complaint by Giant fans too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
How he doesn't know how to really scheme. He just knows 3 wide receiver sets.
I have a lot to say about that because I have a problem with Sandy Clough with the tight end Noah Fant, because I have something to say to Sandy Clough. Sandy Clough, what you're saying is wrong and so disingenuous about Noah Fant. It makes me sick to my stomach. Saying that he can't get open and he ran a 4.5. He ran a 4.45 in the draft, in the combine. It's not just that. It's the separation ability when it comes to Noah Fant. It's not all his fault that he's getting targeted in the fourth quarter and he only gets 3 targets a game. That's not Noah Fant's fault. That is the play calling fault. And you not acknowledging the fact that Shermer doesn't use the tight end sets that me and this man right here were continually saying that Rich Scangarello was doing. Well, okay, so every time that Noah Fant was in the Rich Scangarello offense for a year, that was his best year. And we could go to the offensive line. To me, the offensive line with Dalton Reisner, that's Dalton Reisner's best year, was his rookie year. And guess what system he was running? The Rich Scangarello offense, the West Coast zone running scheme.
I want to just say this really quick, is that I was thinking too this week that people, if they have access to the NFL review, the NFL film, pregame or the game film. If you could go back and look to that year and really watch how Rich Scangarello utilized those tight ends, I would encourage anybody to go back and review those films of how Rich Scangarello used Noah Fant and how the offensive line schemed versus what we got now. I think it was a big mistake to walk away from Rich Scangarello, not giving it a chance. I thought that, but this had, I'm trying to explain this though. This is what I'm not sure who really understands this. This was all predicated to Elway's ego to get Flacco. It happened accidentally because they needed to get a system that Flacco, which was more the Scangarello system,
Gary Yak.
to make the decision to bring Flacco make any sense. I mean, which I understand that if you went with Flacco, which I never would have done,
No.
Why you would do that, but it was almost an accident. Then as soon as Flacco went out the door, everything else for that system and everything went out the door too.
You should have kept Case Keenum at that point. I would have kept Case Keenum over Joe Flacco because that's Case Keenum's best. He feels more comfortable in that offense.
That's the direction they should have went into. You already had Case Keenum, and especially for another year, then you paid him to just go shopping at the mall.
Yeah.
You should have kept him and brought in Rich Scangarello, and then he could have been that bridge quarterback. He could have started that whole system up. Rich Scangarello could have ended up being, a real asset to your team, and then you're developing him too, because he'd be working with Mike Munchak.
Yep.
All
and
that.
You think that with the certain plays, like in the film review, You think that the little plays that they run, the Mike Munchak offense, the little plays that they run that have success, you think that's all Shermer's? No, it's not.
No, of course not. I showed a tight end play that the Steelers ran. They let Draymond Jones come in and they just threw it over his head.
They baited him.
Baited him, of course. You never see Shermer doing that. Would have been a great play the week before with the Ravens.
Yeah,
but,
you could. Williams.
Say that again.
You couldn't have ran that with Javonte Williams. Just saying.
Yeah, and the backs too. There's just, we're not the only ones. They're finally starting to. But it seems to me they're also trying to defend Shermer too. Almost try to shield him as well.
Yeah, that's Elway's little puppet.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because they don't really want to go out too far out. Like you said in discussing Shermer. Oh well, it's Fant's another guy we can just get rid of because he's a part of that lock. Scangarello, all that. Flacco. He's all a part of that thing.
And the people are going to be like, well, didn't Vic Fangio fire Rich Scangarello? And that's something I want to get into real quick. No, because guess what happened in that Indianapolis game? Joe Flacco called Elway out. And Joe Flacco called the Broncos team out saying that, wow, we're a pathetic offense. We don't push the ball down we don't get shit going. And of course he went on IR, but Rich Scangarello behind the scenes was challenging Elway. That's why there was a bunch of rift in that organization with Rich Scangarello, because Scangarello wanted to run something that made a lot of sense to Drew Lock's skill set. And John Elway didn't want that. He wanted the Kansas City offense.
That's why I'm thinking that I don't think Shermer's going to go anywhere. Because he wants that Kansas City, and right now Mahomes is struggling because we say it always comes down to player personnel. As player personnel starts to disintegrate around the player, if you look at when I was out in the East Coast when the ups and downs of Brady, and on Brady's down years was his offensive lines were at their worst.
Yep.
That was his down years. I mean, when his offensive line started to break down and was one of the team's Achilles, he never made the playoffs those years. It's all about support. You get like. Did you hear the end of my video? I said we can't have Haywards. We're not allowed to have Haywards. We're what we have is PR and spin, trying to tell you that Draymond Jones is in the same universe as a Hayward. We're not allowed to have that because this guy has so much control at the top that it's a coach killer ultimately.
Yeah, and to all the people. Go ahead.
And then he picked a bad coach in Shermer. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. And to all the people that said that John Elway doesn't exist in this organization, then why was he at the game last week? Why was he at the game with Steelers then? And right under the director of player personnel. To all the people that attacked me for saying that I was still on the stance and me and you were still on the stance saying that Elway's still part of this organization and he still has the control. To all those people, where are you at now?
Say that again. Where?
I said to all the people, where are you at now with the Elway not being in the organization anymore? I don't hear from you guys anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything with the Steeler game that anything else?
I think that game was far and away more of a concern than the Ravens game. I think that it exposed a lot of our weaknesses that me and you have continually said over the past year and a half, 2 years now since we've been together. Yeah.
Speaks volumes. I think it speaks volumes. Okay, now are you ready to move on to Chucky Gate?
Let's do it. I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, so Sports Talk Radio was really banking on a Raiders collapse for this week because they'll be the first week they don't have Chucky. And one luxury we have here at this channel is we don't have to talk about the moral virtues because I don't know anything about what he said or didn't say, but I do know that he's not going to be. He's been fired. He's okay. That happened. That's all I need to know. Now, if I'm not mistaken, from what I understand, reading what Raiders players said, is that the initial shock actually came the Sunday of the Chicago Bears game, what was going on. That was the initial shock. And they've kind of now had a week to digest it. So my question is to counter the sports talk radio narrative, which could be true. I mean, Raiders could, I guess, collapse in chaos because of everything. But there's also the possibility that when it comes to playing the game, they could be extremely dialed in. Mm-hmm. That's the thing they don't want to discuss. And that's a possibility, too. They could be extremely dialed in. Now, last year, I don't see the Raiders' offensive line, because the Sports Talk Radio, Dove Valley, is trying to say that their offensive line is their Achilles heel. I didn't see that last year. I don't know if they're injured. I don't know what their injury status is or anything like that, but that was not the case when the Broncos played them last year. So I'm just going to start off with all this. You got a lot to say, so go for it.
So I want to talk about John Gruden real quick. I think the NFL is going down a bad path right now. I think the NFL is starting to become the NBA. And that's something that I don't want this NFL to be, because I love the National Football League. I like football. I love football. But when you are going to, you basically blacklisted John Gruden, in my personal opinion, because there's been a lot of other people that have done it, what he did. And John Gruden, I think that I wouldn't be shocked if this team goes on a winning streak here, because I think that with Vegas and the billionaire and the money revenue that they want, I didn't think that they wanted John Gruden reaping the rewards of that. And I think that, him calling out Roger Goodell, that was, we all say stupid shit and we've all said stupid stuff in our days. And for him to get blacklisted like that, I just think it was wrong. And he will never get a coaching job again, because the NFL doesn't want racism in their stuff. So in my personal opinion, I don't think it was racism. I think that what he said was, I think that I liked the offensive schematic game plan that he ran with, because he comes from the tree that I like. I like the Rich Scangarello, Mike Munchak, Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan tree. That's the tree that John Gruden has come off of. So that's all I got to say about John Gruden. I think he was blacklisted, and I think something fishy is going on with that whole situation.
Well, I didn't even read one email. So, but
I because I go into that stuff because I think that shit is fishy. I think something reeks about this whole situation. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders, I think that John Gruden, what he did, was, what he did, I'm not going to go into that, because I think that this man had a great offensive mind. I think that he was a good offensive mind. I hate the Raiders. I will never like the Raiders. This is the same old Raiders. But John Gruden actually built the O-line and D-lines, and he was starting to do that. And, Raiders, you better be careful what you guys are going to go in for, because if you want to go get another coach, you're turning in the Broncos here. And at first I thought you guys got over that. To all the Raider fans, I thought you guys got over that. But from what I've been hearing, those dirt sheets out there, they I don't know what direction they're going in. So they're the same old Raiders. That's all I got to say.
Well, what got my attention was the fact that Roger Goodell had all these emails. That's what got my attention.
Yeah.
But like I said, I only heard the hearsay.
They're all the billionaires. They didn't want Gruden reaping the rewards of Vegas winning a Super Bowl possibly, or whatever it is. Who cares?
Well, it could be a vendetta between the two. The commissioner and
Yeah.
This is why you don't get on and start keyboarding, anyway. So
yeah, I agree.
So, but this is the fact that this channel, this is what we look at. This channel is that Gruden is gone, and they've got to digest that. Now, if he's still beloved by, and if it was, kind of a bogus situation, well, whatever. It's one of two ways. Either the team falls apart like they say, or they get dialed in this game and fall apart later or do whatever later. But this is an interesting game. But I want to tell you something that nobody's talking about. How will the Broncos, in their mind, think, oh, well, they're not going to be coming after us. We'll just, we'll go through the motions. Because when they played the Steelers, it was almost as if they just showed up. Are they going to just show up to this game? Are they going to not have the fire? I mean, they're inducting Shanahan into the Ring of Fame and all this is going on, but are they just going to, the players just going to be like, yeah, the Raiders, they're a mess. We don't have to put that much effort in.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think that I think they're overlooking the Raiders because everything that STR says, I'm going to believe because that's where they're getting their talking points is Dove Valley, and that's what LA wants. And I think on the other hand, Shanahan, I think that, Shanahan's getting inducted, so they're going to be focused on that. So, it's Raider week because that's what Mike Shanahan always preached on. It's Raider week, but I think this.
It's really Raider week, though. Is it?
No, they're overlooking the Raiders. I really do believe that, and
that's my question. Yeah,
I would caution people about this game because I would not overlook this team, and I'll explain it when you're done explaining your thing. But I wouldn't overlook this team seriously. I wouldn't overlook this team.
Well, this is what I'm seeing. My optics says is that, and I go back and watch this film, and that's why, when you go back and really dissect this stuff, this is a team that you can throw the ball on. Period. End of story. There is no pass rush, so you get quarterbacks that actually know a thing or two, and can get a job done. That's something Carr and his receivers can do. This is something that STR. They kind of skirt around it. It keeps, this is a game you could say the Raiders could easily say, yeah, it is tough to play in Mile High, but this is a game you should be able to win. They could make the same claim in their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm no Raider fan, but I'm just saying, I'm just telling you like it is that what I see is a team that is really, though the defense is vulnerable both ways, both running and, it seems, depending on the line. So, but this is a team I think you can throw the ball on, and that's something I think Carr and company can do real well. So I wouldn't overlook that aspect. But now go ahead and go into it all. I've said my piece.
I want to talk about the Raiders offense here. I think you can run the ball on this Broncos defense with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. With that interior offensive line with Josh Simpson and Colton Miller is your left tackle, and then another interior guard. I forgot his name because I was watching some more film this morning on him. I think that the game plan for the Raiders, Greg Olson is their offense coordinator, and he runs a lot of what John Gruden ran. He runs the West Coast power run scheme, and that's the same thing Shermer kind of runs. It's more of the Kansas City spread, three wide receiver sets. But the thing with Greg Olson as the offense coordinator, he runs a lot of 3-4 wide receiver sets / tight end sets. But he's very creative in that aspect, and he runs a lot of mesh concepts. And I think that they are going to attack this linebacking core in this game with Alexander Johnson and Justin Sternad. I think that they're going to attack Simmons. And I think they're going to put Henry Ruggs on Patrick Surtain and Braylon Edwards on Kyle Fuller. And then a guy to look out for is Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. I think they're going to try and put Darren Waller on Justin Simmons to expose his ass. Again. I think that I don't see our Broncos D-line getting any pressure on this Raiders offensive line or the quarterback. I think Derek Carr, out of all the quarterbacks we've faced so far, is the best quarterback we're going to be facing because he can read defenses very, very well. And he's a rhythm thrower. And if he gets in a rhythm, it's over.
Adios, amigo. Yeah, this is our different take from the other channels.
They won't mention this.
No, they're saying that their offensive line is crap, but that's not what I saw last year when they played Broncos.
That's not what I saw against the Bears.
Yeah, and the Bears have actually a good defensive front. So,
in
Say it,
up
say it
against
all over again.
not what I saw against the Bears. The Bears' defensive line is way better than the Broncos.
Yeah. I wonder
So
why.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear from STR.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just say this: if the Broncos lose this game, I said, did you see how I titled the title after our Steelers? I said one more. We're one loss away from a full-on dumpster fire. Would you agree it'll be a full-on dumpster fire if they lose it, even with SDR doing all their shenanigans?
I think internally though the Broncos are already a dumpster fire.
Oh,
I don't think it's being out there just yet. But I think if they lose this game, it's the floodgates are going to open.
yeah, yeah.
I internally with that in that locker room in that organization, I think there's already a lot of dysfunction. I don't doubt it. I mean, come on now, you could have beat if yet. I mean, seriously, this Broncos team is a joke, and I have a hard time seeing if they can win this game on Sunday because the Raiders offense can give this defense a lot of fits, and they have a lot of better player personnel on that side of the ball than the Steelers Ravens did. And Henry Ruggs is no joke.
Yeah.
Henry Ruggs is no joke, and Darren Waller's no joke. Hunter Renfrow, Braylon Edwards, Josh Jacobs, and Kenyon Drake. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to be a problem in this game. I think he's going to be a major problem.
So what I thought in what I've seen in Bronco film, my thought was this could be a good cure for the Gruden mess. I could see them licking their chops when they look at our crap defense, thinking, man, this could really be really just, if we can just dial it in, we can really win a game and get all this off our backs. Sports Talk Radio won't talk about that. How about their defense? Can our offense keep up a scoring fest with playing Teddy ball?
No.
Or Ed Shermer, excuse me, Teddy/Shermer ball.
No, because I don't trust Shermer.
So if they don't just lose, if they get the old 30 burger put on them, and it's like, the Broncos are right now, last two games, it's been close to those 30s, right? We're getting close to those 30 burgers.
I agree.
So if it turns out to be a 35 to 23 type game, the floodgates, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really underestimating this Raiders defense.
Well, SDR certainly is doing that.
Well, of course SDR is.
I'm not too sold on the defense myself, to be quite honest. Their offense, though, that's a different story.
Well, let me just say this about the Raiders defense, and hopefully I can, kind of sell you on it a little bit more. Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue, a guy that you wanted, and I said, ho, wait up, but he's actually showed up this year and, staying out of that, legal crap. And their defensive line, when I was watching the Bears game and the Miami game, because those are the two games that they last played, the one thing that they were doing to those offenses is they were running a lot of stunt blitz packages, and Gus Bradley is the defensive coordinator, and I'm a very big fan of Gus Bradley. He runs the cover 3, cover 6 Seattle type defense, and they confuse the quarterbacks. That is the main objective, and they bring a strong safety now in Jonathan Abram, who's having a better year than in years past. He plays the box safety role, and Corey Littleton is still on that roster.
That's the guy I wanted to get, yeah.
Guy that you wanted, STR says that he's terrible on the film. He has his ups and downs, but he is a way better coverage linebacker than Alexander Johnson and Justin Sternad. I'm just going to put that out there right now. So they also got Trevon Mullen, who's a very solid corner. They don't have really good corners, not the best, but we saw from the Steelers game that really didn't matter because of that defensive line with Hayward. Yeah. I think that Garrett Bowles, Bobby Massey, and this interior of the offensive line is going to have their struggles this week because I think a lot of people are discrediting this defense because they do confuse the crap. The one thing I like about the Seattle defense is that they confuse offenses, and what I mean by that is offensively with the offensive line, they are set up in one package to begin the play. and they will confuse the offensive line to get.
They'll shift package.
But they'll confuse the offensive line for certain teams to get them off their spot, and I think that's be a problem in this game on Sunday tomorrow.
So how about running on the Raiders with this offensive line that the Broncos have?
Run on this team, but do I trust Sherman to do that? No.
You think that would be a good game plan?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because you don't want Carr in the offense to keep getting out on that field. That's kind of what happened with Jackson.
I'm trying to say that for 2 weeks now. You need to run the football.
Yeah, more consistently.
Yeah, I think Javonte Williams is due for a breakout game. I'm really impressed by this kid. He's proving me wrong each and every week. Every time he's in the backfield, he seems to make plays, and no wonder Philip Lindsay was laughing at the pick because they don't value him.
No, they don't value him at all. And my question too is, why doesn't Shermer throw to the running backs? Why does that not happen?
Because that's not in his philosophy.
Yeah.
He likes to do that 3 wide receiver, 20+ yard concepts that make no sense.
Well, the whole reason they got Gordon and the whole reason they got Williams was supposed to be because Shermer was supposed to want to throw to running backs, but he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, isn't that what Cecil Lammey said?
Well, that's been the sports talk. That's been one of the talking points. That never happened.
Discredited because have you seen Shermer's play calling over the past 1.5, 2 years? It's dreadful, not awful.
Well, look at his play calling with the Giants. I mean, we're just echoing everything they said.
Yeah. We signed a washed up receiver in John Brown. The Raiders cut him for a reason.
Yeah.
We seem to sign these washed up receivers that the Raiders are getting rid of. I wonder why. Okay, they have.
Who did we get rid of? That was a receiver?
Trinity Benson.
Oh yeah. We don't need that. We need Brown. We don't.
And I'm going to say this right here, right now. I loved Kendall Hinton. Actually, had a good game last week. I was impressed by Kendall Hinton. I'm not saying that he was great, but he did some good things in that game.
Yeah, maybe we can trade him.
Better receiver than Kendall Hinton.
Maybe we can trade him.
I wouldn't be shocked if they don't re-sign him in this year. I doubt it.
Oh, wow. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So yeah, I don't have, it's really funny too, because there's people at Sports Talk Radio said that if they lose, the Broncos, they wouldn't be surprised. Same here. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this didn't turn out to be a marathon by the offense of the Raiders.
Yeah, because I think the weaknesses for this team are more defense. I think it's all 3 phases on this team that they're not very good at. I think all 3 of them are overhyped. I think that Shermer is a terrible play caller. I think Vic Fangio, all the other online platforms and STR like to blame the coaching and all that. Can I just say this? You take a step back, all the other online platforms, just take a step back and ask yourself, if we had a competent GM and a competent owner and Vic Fangio as the head coach, would this team look like would this defense specifically look like the defense that it is now?
Not even close.
Thank you.
Not even close. And
Shermer would be our coordinator?
Well, hold on. We can see what Fangio's done in his works on other teams. At least for player personnel, it's diametrically different. I can just say the guy that disassembled Wade Phillips' concept, built from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
The man that did that was not Fangio. You have to get that through your head if you're a Bronco fan. That was not Fangio. That was John Elway. This defense looks exactly like the defense that John Elway created in the post Wade Phillips era.
It looks like the old Raiders defense.
I mean, for the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. Hard on the edges, soft in the middle. Yeah. Yep. That's what they want. They want their 90s football, and I love John Elway.
Yeah, exactly. That is what we are accustomed to now in this day and age with John Elway. people like to sit here and say, "Oh, it's all Fangio's fault. He's not coaching up these players and he's not defending these players." I just saw him defend the crap out of Bryce Callahan.
Yeah.
And
A player he knows that can play.
You guys wanted to trade him.
Yeah.
And he is the best corner on this team. I think he's the best player on that defense outside of Von Miller and Kareem Jackson right now.
Yeah.
You guys just want to get rid of those type of players. Von Miller, Kareem Jackson, and Bryce Callahan. You want to get rid of those players.
Yeah, because they're toxic. It's a toxic fan base.
Yes.
I'm not talking about our core audience. I'm talking and other people that may not be, but people that have a clue. But this feel-good, orange Kool-Aid drinking, I'll believe everything Sports Talk Radio feeds me and what Dove Valley feeds me. I believe everything. It's a very toxic, destructive fan base because you're right. They just keep wanting to get rid of what works.
Yeah, and STR and the online platforms, you said we were going to go in and show Pittsburgh. How did that work?
Yeah.
How did that work out? So now you're saying the exact same thing to the Raiders. This team, this organization, and the online and, the feel-good disco ball fans are overlooking this Raiders team to the point where I wouldn't be shocked if we lose this game and they put 30 points on this team, especially on this defense. I wouldn't be shocked.
Now, if we're talking defense, I just want you to elaborate because you went and you watched film of the Raiders and Chicago. I hadn't actually watched it. I'm really curious about what you saw with Chicago's defense. And I want you to tell me what you saw. Chicago. This is a Fangio-built defense. A lot of the players are still there. The philosophy is still there. What's the diametric difference between when you see Chicago's defense on film and when you see the Broncos defense? I'm guess player personnel will be a big part of that.
Yeah. Personnel, player personnel in the front seven. That's all I got to say about that. You sit there and you ask yourself, Bronco fans, and you can go look at that roster in Chicago. And let's just do a little lesson here about Broncos and the Chicago's defense and the philosophies with Vic Fangio's defense in Denver and the philosophies of Vic Fangio in Chicago. They had guys, and I'm going to continue to bring this up, in the front seven with Leonard Floyd, who's on the Rams now, balling out because of Aaron Donald, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, Bilal Nichols, Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, Roy Robertson-Harris, Aaron Lynch, guys like that, to bring up an example. And they had two good safeties in Adrian Amos and Eddie Jackson. And when Vic Fangio first came to Denver, he was trying his damn hardest to get Callahan and Adrian Amos. And John Elway didn't want to bring Adrian Amos. He wanted to bring in Kareem Jackson. I think that had more to do with Vic Fangio bringing in Kareem Jackson than John Elway. But that's just my personal opinion because I think that they wanted to convert Kareem Jackson into the strong safety role, who is the better safety out of Simmons, in my personal opinion. So you ask yourself, does, Shelby Harris and Draymond Jones and Danny Trevathan and Justin Sternad and Mike Purcell live up to what Vic Fangio had in Chicago with Eddie Goldman, Akeem Hicks, Bilal Nichols, Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith? Because I'm gonna put Von Miller in the same universe as Khalil Mack. I think they're two different skill sets, but they're two damn good players. Malik Reed, I love Malik Reed, but Bradley Chubb, when healthy, is a damn good player. But I'm just taking those two edge pieces out because it's not all about that. The pressure's interior. So let's take those two players out. Let's take those two players out and just focus on the defensive line and linebackers and the two safeties, for example. Bilal Nichols, Eddie Goldman, Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, Eddie Jackson, and Adrian Amos. You going to take that defense over this defense right now?
Of course.
Of course.
Now I got to give you this. Just doing a comparison. If you're to compare that defense you just talked about to John Elway's current defense, or Vic Fangio's and Wade Phillips' defense, that defense you talked about, Wade Phillips, John Elway's, which is close? Which gauge does it get closer to?
Wade Phillips.
Okay, so we're not allowed to have that Wade Phillips model. We're obviously still in the John Elway model, correct?
Yep, of course we are.
Okay. That's
think,
what I needed to know.
well, this is something that we need to know, that we both need to. We've continued to harp on. My apologies for. If Vic Fangio had the control to get that 9th overall pick, who would he would have picked? Surtain or Zaven Collins?
Zaven for sure.
Of course, Zaven, because he knows the importance of containing the middle of the field. Elway doesn't get that. Elway doesn't get the concept of getting penetration up the middle and covering the middle of the field, because that's where the NFL is now in the current NFL.
Of course it is.
That's why Wade Phillips was ahead of his time, because we also had a guy named Danny Trevathan, Kool-Aid drinking fans in Elway. We had a guy named Danny Trevathan, and who picked up Danny Trevathan and went to Chicago? Oh, that's right, Vic Fangio.
Yeah. Just saying. So yeah, don't expect. Let me just put it this way: don't be surprised if the Raiders come in focused when it comes time to play. Just don't be surprised. If the Raiders can fall apart like STR is they're going to fall apart. They're going to fall apart. If that's true and it happens, just count your lucky stars. Then count your lucky stars. But me thinks this could be a game to help them kind of, this, and it seemed the shock game was Chicago. This may be the shield game. Play good, shield, protect yourself a little from all that negative press. That's just my take. So anyway, that's all I have for this. What do you have?
That's it for everything for me.
Sounds really good. Well, we'll obviously hopefully get a good report at the end, post-game report for you.
Yeah. And then we got a game on Thursday against a better overall player personnel team in Cleveland.
So, wow. On a Thursday.
That might honestly, if we really think about it, that might be when the floodgates open.
This is the worst possible scenario. If the Broncos really get beat and then have to turn around and play Cleveland on a
short week.
Okay, Katie bar the door. The door. Wow. Yep. All right. Well, we'll see. Cross our fingers. I hate the Raiders, so
I hate the Raiders.
Go Broncos.
Good luck. Just win, baby. Right?
Yeah. Yes, Uncle Al.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you.
Yep. Take care.
All right. Bye.